Hi everyone! Today we will present the story about Lamb of the Slaughter by Roald Dahl.
Let me introduce you the member. First, we have me, Pak Nin Hani, and then we have Afiqah Dania, Nur Ishira, Muhammad Alif Shabidin, and Muhammad Anik Najmin. So now, let's proceed with our presentation.
So the author of this story is Roald Dahl. So who is Roald Dahl? Roald Dahl was a master of unexpected, a British author whose stories have enchanted, unsettled, and delighted readers for a generation. So basically, Roald Dahl was born on September 30, 1916 in Cardiff, Wales, and was died on November 23, 1990 in Oxford, England. He was a fighter pilot in WW2 with the Royal Air Force, and he was intelligence officer and even a spy during the war, and he became one of the most beloved children author of the 20th century. So basically, the story is about Mary Melanie, a seemingly gentle and devoted housewife. Mary is happily awaiting her husband Patrick return from work, but when he arrived, he coldly announced he is leaving her. In a moment of shock and rage, Mary kills him with a frozen leg of lamb. She cooked the murder weapon and served it to the investigating officers, who unknowingly eat the evidence while discussing the case. So the conclusion that I can make, like a short conclusion, it is not just the shock of the murder, but it is the sly humor, the unsettling calm of Mary's demeanor, and the final scene where the detective muse over the missing weapon as they eat it. Dahl's mastery lies in making the ordinary feel sinister.
Hi, I'm Pak Nin Hani, and I will explain the story of the lamb to the slaughter using the Freytag's pyramid. In Freytag's pyramid, we have exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. So now I will explain to you the exposition first. So the quote for the exposition is Mary Melanie was waiting for her husband to come home from work. We are introduced to Mary's calm and domestic life of Mary. She is a devoted pregnant wife waiting for Patrick, which is her husband. And the cozy setting highlights her love and loyalty, which contrasts what will come later. Take a look at the rising action. The rising action happens when Patrick said, "Listen, I've got something to tell you," and he told her. Patrick's behavior shifts and he acts cold, detached, and drinks heavily. This moment builds suspense, although Dahl never gives us a full detail, but we understand that Patrick wants to leave Mary. Tension rises because Mary is shocked and emotionally unstable. The climax happens just after Patrick said that he wants to leave Mary, and then Mary said she wants to prepare something and take a big frozen leg of lamb and walk up behind him, and without any pause, she swung the big frozen leg of lamb high in the air and brought it down as hard as she could on the back of his head. So this is the story speak, the shocking and impulsive murder. Mary goes from being a submissive wife to a killer in one sudden act. So for the falling action, she carried the meat to the kitchen and placed it in a pan, turned the oven on high and shoved it inside. Mary begins to cover her tracks. She practices her alibi. She goes to the grocer and pretends everything is normal while it's not. After she came home from the grocery, she called a police to report about Patrick's. The police arrive and investigate while the murder weapon is cooking in the oven. So for the resolution, Mary offers the lamb to the police. She said, "Why don't you eat up that lamb that's in the oven? It will be cooked just right by now." And the police reply with, "Probably right under our very noses. What you think, Jack?" and in the other room, Mary Melanie began to giggle. The story ends with dark irony. The police literally ate the murder weapon, making Mary safe. Her giggle, her, her giggle, her giggle shows both relief and twisted humor of the situation. The justice is never served.
Hi everyone, today my part of analysis will be settings and conflict in the Land to the Slaughter by Roald Dahl. Okay, now let's begin with the settings. So as you guys can see here, there will be three parts of settings that I will analyzing about. Which is first is place and location, second is time, and third is atmosphere and mood. So, let's start. This story begins in the Melanie home, mainly the living room and kitchen. The text says the room was warm and clean. The curtains drawn, the two temple lamps alight. This shows the house as warm and safe, which makes the murder more even shocking. Another important place is the grocery shop. It said it wasn't 6 o'clock yet, and the light was still on in the grocery shop. This is where Mary cleverly created her alibi by acting cheerful and pretending nothing happened. Okay, for another part is time. The story happened in the evening when Patrick comes home from the work. The text says, when the clock said 10 minutes to 5, she began to listen. She heard the tires on the gravel outside. This normal evening routine made the sudden conflict stand out.
And now let's move to character and characteristic. Now, this slide is about the main character, Mary Melanie, who is the protagonist of the story Led to the Slaughter. Let's move to what is her role. She gets introduced as a devoted housewife and an expectant mother. At first, she seems gentle, caring, and loving towards her husband. This can refer to paragraph 1 until 3. Now, what is her traits? Mary is intelligent, calm, quick thinking, and very calculating. These qualities become especially clear after the turning point in the story. Next point is Patrick. He is emotionally distant and cold toward Mary, even though she is loving and devoted to him. This can refer from paragraph 32, which is from the short story. It said, "For God's sake," he said, hurrying her, but not turning around. "Don't make supper for me. I'm going out." This showed him being cold, distant, and rejecting her care. Next, we have he delivered shocking news to Mary, which is that he intends to leave her. This revelation triggers the story climax and leading directly to his own murder. Next point is we have Jake show sympathy and trust towards Mary. He believes her and never suspect her of the crime, which helped her get away with it, which we can see from the short story, paragraph 68. It'd be a favor to me if you eat it up. Then you can go on with your work afterwards. Here Jake insists that she eats, showing sympathy and cares. Next, we have one of the most ironic part of the story is that Jake unknowingly eats the murder weapon, which is the leg of lamb, while investigating the murder. Sam, he is friendly, approachable, and very chatty, the kind of person who easily talks with his customer, which we can see from the paragraph 56 until 58, which is Jack and the other officer arrive. He speaks gently to Mary, showing friendliness and approachability. Next, without realizing it, Sam becomes part of Mary's alibi. His natural conversation with her make it seem like nothing unusual has happened. Next, we have by simply doing his job and engaging with Mary, he unknowingly helps her cover up the crime. Next, we have
O'Malley unknowingly helps convince Mary alibis and support her vision of events without even suspecting her involvement. By trusting Mary's story and overlooking key details, he indirectly helps deflect suspicion away from her. So, all in all, O'Malley may be a minor character, but his actions show how even observant officer can be deceived, which helped Mary escape the punishment. Thank you.
Okay, it's me again. And now let's move on to another part, which is conflict. As you guys can see here, we have external conflict, character versus character, and internal conflict, character versus self. Okay, now I will start with external conflict first. Okay, the external conflict between Mary and Patrick. He said, listen, I got something to tell you. His decision to leave her devastated Mary and drive her to murder. And another external conflict, this time, is between Mary and the police. She treated them by saying, why don't you eat up that lamb that's in the oven? And one officer even adds, probably right under our very noses. This created dramatic irony because the police are unknowingly destroying the evidence. Okay, now for the internal conflict is between Mary herself. The story say everything was automatic now she couldn't even feel anything at all. This showed her shock and numbness, but also her quick decision to survive for the sake of her unborn child. In the Lamb to the Slaughter, we can see three clear types of conflict. The first one is man versus man. This happened when the Mary diary read to Patrick betrayal. The story says, without any pulse, she saw the big frozen leg of the lamb high in the air and brought it down. This showed the physical conflict between husband and wife, where Mary killed Patrick in an outburst of anger and pain. The second one is man versus society. After the murder, Mary must hide a crime from the police. The text say they were looking for the weapon, probably right under our noses. This shows how Mary outsmarted society law's informants by making the unknowingly eat the murder weapon, allowing her to escape punishment. Finally, we have man versus self. This is Mary's inner struggle right after the murder. The story says everything was automatic now. She couldn't feel anything at all. These lines show her shock and numbness, but also how she quickly pushes aside her emotion in order to survive and protect herself and her unborn child. So through this conflict, man versus man versus society, and man versus self, the story reveals Mary's transformation from a loving wife into a desperate, cunning woman who managed to escape justice. Okay, I think that's all from me, and I will pass this to the next presenter.
So now we'll take a look at the theme of the Lamb to the Slaughter story. So first we have gender roles and power. At the beginning, Mary is the perfect 1950 wife, pregnant, caring, devoted, waiting for her husband to come home. After the murder, she flipped the traditional gender role, taking control of the situation and outsmarting the man, which is the police. For example, the detective never suspect her because she is a woman and the wife of Patrick. It shows the society's bias. So the second theme is deception and irony. Mary deceived everyone, the grocer, the police, and even herself by pretending nothing happened. The dramatic irony, the audience knows the murder weapon is leg of lamb, but the police do not. And the most ironic part is when the police say probably right under our very noses, and then they proceed to eat the evidence. And the third theme is justice and injustice. Mary is never caught. In deeper meaning, Dahl is showing how justice doesn't always work fairly, and sometimes clever deception can beat the system. And the ending laugh highlights this injustice. It's both darkly funny and disturbing.
I will explain about the point of view from this story. So it has 3 point of view. First is a narration style. The narration style is told in a third person perspective. The narrator is outside of the story, but focuses mainly on Mary's perspective. We only know what Mary is thinking, but we don't know what Patrick's inner thoughts is. One example from the story is the line, "She loved to luxuriate in the presence of this man and to feel, almost as a sunbather feels the sun, that warm male glow that came out of him to her." This is showing that Mary's inner feeling and focusing only on her perspective. So second is effect on the reader. Since the point of view aligns us with Mary, we feel her shock and desperation. Readers may even sympathize with her despite her crime. One example that we can see is from the phrase, "Alright, so I have killed him." Mary's calm acceptance draws readers into her mindset. Many readers end up strangely sympathizing with her, even though she just murdered her husband. And the last point of view that we can see from the story is dramatic irony. Because the narrator gives us Mary's perspective, we know she cooked the murder weapon, but the police officers and Patrick don't. Thus make they are eating the lamb darkly humorous. So for the last one, I will uncover about the literary devices that uses in this short story. So the first one is irony. One irony that we can see is the situational irony, which is the police eat the murder weapon, which is the leg of the lamb, while searching for it. Second one is the dramatic irony. The audience know Mary killed Patrick, but the police don't. And the last one is verbal irony, which the title "Lamb to the Slaughter" refers to both the meat and Patrick being unsuspectedly killed. So the second one is a symbolism. The leg of the lamb symbolizes both domestic life, such as cooking, home and care, and also sudden violence, such as a murder weapon. The lambs also symbolize innocence, and it makes it ironic because it becomes an instrument of death. The third one is the foreshadowing. Early on the stories, Mary is described as a calm and loving woman, which contrasts sharply with her later act, hinting at a shocking twist. And also, Patrick and cold distant behavior foreshadows that something bad is coming, and it also makes the story more intense. Third one is a dark humor. The idea of detective unknowingly eating the weapon is gruesome, but also comical. Dahl uses this to lighten the horror and make the story more memorable. There is also sentences in the story, which is, "She lifted the leg of lamb in high in the air and brought it down as far as she could on the back of his head." The idea of that such a domestic, harmless piece of food become a deadly weapon is both shocking and absurdly funny. The next literary devices that uses in this story is imagery. Imagery is the vivid descriptions which makes the story more imaginable. One of the vivid description is the frozen lamb is like a steel clock, or the cozy warm home that Mary creates. It is a contrast between the homely setting and the brutal murder, and hence the shock. There is also some visual imagery in the story, such as the sentence, "She sat very quietly, watching him with a kind of dazed horror as he went further and further away from her with each word." The description of Mary's stillness and dazed expression paints her emotional collapse vividly. So the sixth one is characterization. Mary is first shown as a loving, gentle wife, but Dahl uses indirect her characterization, or we can call her actions, to reveal her cunning side after the murder. We can see her cunning and deceptive sides after the murder with the sentence, "She carried the meat into the kitchen, put it in the pan, turned on the oven and put the pan inside." Mary cleverly disguises the weapon as dinner. Her cunning side emerges, and also she rehearsed it several times in her head before going out. Each time, it sounds better. She planned and practices her alibi revealing her intelligence and quick thinking. For the last literary devices that uses in this story is tone and mood. So for the tone, there is a dark, ironic, with a touch of humor. We can see that from the dark tone that the narrator description of the murder is blunt and unsettling, reflecting a dark tone. From the ironic, we can see the police officer's statement is ironic, since the murder weapon is literally being eaten by them. It's come from the sentence. Personally, I think it's right here on the premises, probably right under our very noses. And lastly, there is a dark humor, which from the sentence, in the other room, Mary Maloney began to giggle. The outer playful tone comes through here, treating a grim situation, hiding a murder evidence with a twist of humor. And from the mood that we can see in this short story, it's more referring to the reader's feeling. First, it becomes suspenseful. From the sentence, we can see that she sat very quietly, watching him with a kind of dazed horror as he went further and further away from her with each word. Readers feel tension, waiting to find out what Patrick is saying and how Mary will react. So the second one is shocking at the murder scene. The sudden violence shocks the reader, changing the mood instantly. And at the end, we can feeling the grim amusement. From the sentence, the detective were eating the lamb, and in the other room, Mary Maloney began to giggle. Readers end with a sense of grim amusement. It is grotesque but funny that the policeman destroyed the evidence for her.
In conclusion, Lamb to the Slaughter is more than just a murder story. It is a clever mix of dark humor and irony that challenges our expectations. It leaves us questioning morality, justice, and the unexpected strength of an underestimated woman. That is all from us. Thank you for watching.